So yeah, Haribol. I'm here from Liverpool. As you may know, we're starting a new center. So most of our time with six other brahmacharis, we're staying here. I stayed back today, but most of our team they're outside doing kirtan now. So we have two programs on Wednesday. We have a young group under 30, and then we have another group 30 plus. So we have like a Namahata style on Wednesdays. Thursdays we have kirtan, and on top of that, the whole day we do book distribution. Fridays we do Bhagavad Gita Sanghas. Everything is in person. Saturdays we have like a Saturday love feast. And Sundays, we usually take a time off just to recuperate and rest. So that's a bit of from our end. But without wasting time, going straight to the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnu Pada Krishna Presta Bhutale. Srimate Kadambakanan Swaminiti Namine. So the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are a few um, pastimes which really sort of step forward. And the most important one, which is part of this one, is the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj and Nrsingadev. Here in this particular chapter, the main protagonist or the main instructor is Narada Muni, the transcendental spaceman. And Narada Muni is very famous for coming, delivering, sharing, and disappearing. So throughout the different sections of Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni plays really pivotal roles, just like sort of inducing Kamsa to speed up the appearance of Krishna. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see the pastimes of Mrigari the hunter. And in varieties of different passages, for instance, which one was the other one? Narada Muni and Prajapati Daksha, where he instructed all the thousands of sons of Daksha to absorb themselves more in brahmacharya. But here again, we are very much graced by the wonderful droplets of nectar by Narada Muni, the transcendental spaceman. So this particular chapter has 31 verses. It's a very, very famous chapter, actually, to be honest. This is a very important chapter because it instructs everything and speaks about the four varnas and the ashramas and the respective duties of all these individuals. We can see that the nature of dharma is that you cannot cheat it. You cannot cheat dharma. So you have two types of dharma. You have the Sanatan dharma, which particularly is connected with the soul, and then you have the Swadharma. So Swadharma is connected with your um, psychophysical purpose, your inclinations, your desires, your needs, your aspirations, your likings, your dislikings, your abilities, your disabilities, your limitations, etc. So all these varieties of attributes that somehow or another we um, received by the providence and by the machinations of karma or our previous activities, we somehow or another associated with the three modes of material nature to a certain degree. And these modes of material nature, they take a predominant feature as our attributes and character. And Srimad Bhagavatam, as we're going to hear now, very directly describes the attributes and activities connected to a specific field of activity. So every single one of us, we have a certain mixture. In this age of Kali, no one is 100% Brahmana, 100% Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, which means there's a tinges, there's a varieties of there's everything comes to a mix. In the previous ages, it was much more clear who was a Brahmana, who was Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So I think we're going to be reading not all of the verses, but kind of a one by one, or a few of them we're going to skip and just try to touch upon the most important ones. Text 1, Narada Muni said, students should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at Gurukul, only for benefit of the guru. So this is kind of we're starting with the foundation. And this is always very interesting and very sweet. This is a famous verse. Um, he should have a submissive attitude or firm friendship for the spiritual master. So we all know that spiritual master represents Krishna, is the external representation of the Paramatma. And always for the Paramatma, for the Supreme Lord, we have this all in reverence, right? Aishwarya Bhav, Krishna is the Supreme. So how we can develop friendship with the spiritual master? So it's kind of like a razor's edge. In one end, you have to have that respect towards the guru. And another end, there's that developing friendship. So friendship develops when there is a respect, appreciation for someone. And you can't be a friend with someone without appreciating him. So the more and more we also understand the glories of Guru, the more and more we understand glories of Krishna, we develop also a certain mood of not familiarity, but mood of intimacy with the spiritual master. When I look back to my sort of a development with my spiritual master's relationship, in the beginning, it was kind of like oh, there's just a like there's a new boy, new devotee, new brahmachari. He gave a lot of attention, and as we progressing in relationship with Guru and Krishna, the intimacy grows, and intimacy means more intimate dealings. Naturally, it means that person becomes more and more closer to the heart. And with proximity to the heart, there's a lot of things becoming revealed. So as we serve spiritual masters in the text one, a disciple receives a great benediction of friendship from the spiritual master, but he will never that the purview of all in reverence of Aishwarya above never actually disappears for the spiritual master. At both junctions of day and night, namely in the early morning and in the evening, he should be fully absorbed in thoughts of the spiritual master, via the sun god and Lord Vishnu. And by chanting the Gayatri mantra, he should worship them. So 3 times a day, those which are second initiated, or those which are Brahmanical initiation, they meditate upon all these attributes of Krishna. It's actually progress without saying anything deeper about Gayatri mantras. It's a progress from something very vague, from you know, I think majority of you are familiar with the Brahma Gayatri mantra. So it somehow describes the all-pervasive factor or all-pervasive feature of the Lord until it progresses through varieties of really well-designed um, features of the Lord until it comes to the most intimate um, understanding of the divine couple. So these Gayatri mantras are there to remind us that whatever we do, at whatever location we are, and whatever activities or contemplations we may be engrossed, there's always that time that we cut through everything and allow us to meditate on Guru, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and different individuals. So we, in this way, we're always connected, at least minimum 3 times a day, in the morning, at the equinox, at the midday, and in the evening. Being called by the spiritual master, the student should study the Vedic mantras regularly. Every day before beginning his studies and the end of his studies, the disciple should respectfully offer obeisances unto the spiritual master. So this is a principle. So these verses up to the verse of 7, 8. Actually, all of these initial verses are describing brahmachari life. So the reason why Narada Muni starts with this brahmachari perspective is that it's a foundation to anything, everyone, and anybody. In the Vedic times, doesn't matter if you've been a king, brahmana, or if you've been a householder, vaishya, there always has to be training. In this day and age, we sort of we're lacking a lot of training of the ancient Vedic times. And this training, what it does, it creates a foundation for liberation. It creates a foundation for our spiritual advancement. It creates a foundation for us to truly understand that whichever path of life I choose, be it as householder, be it continuing with the renunciation, we are, in the end of the day, disciples or servants of the spiritual master, servants and ultimately servants of God. So these fundamental teachings are there in the background of everyone in a society. So imagine a society where everyone is trained to be humble, to see women as mothers, to call each other as prabhus or masters, to always offer respect to God and to see everyone as a part and parcel of God, that everyone is able to be simple, just, compassionate, loving, and caring. So this is what Narada Muni initially introduces. It introduces the foundation of human society, introduces the foundation lies in training, in perspectives, in different varieties of angles. It's very interesting. Like today, I was in book distribution in Liverpool, and I met this young gentleman, and somehow or another, someone distributed me Bhagavad Gita, and he came and he basically shared very interesting perspective. He said one thing which really stuck with me from the Bhagavad Gita, and he started describing akarma, vikarma, and which was a karma, akarma, and vikarma. So he was describing pious activities, impious activities, and transcendental activities. And he was like, wow, this is such amazing wisdom. Like, this is something that I've very, very much taken away from Bhagavad Gita. And I was like, oh, that's, I almost like felt like, oh, yeah, that's given, that's like basic knowledge. But then when you actually think about it, we take a lot of perspective wisdom from the Shastra almost for granted in certain points of our life. But what it means is that those which are not necessarily trained in the Vedic way of living, um, this is something far out. This is something very powerful. So the difference between us and anyone else is in education, And that's why Narada Muni opened up with the foundational training of everyone, and that is education under the direct guidance and tutelage of their spiritual master. So that's why that's actually foundation of society, education, especially from early youth. Imagine having people which are trained from early stages of their life in how to perfectly worship Lord, perfectly worship spiritual master, and how to be first class citizens. The society will be much, much more different. So Narada Muni opened up with that. Then Muni continues, a brahmachari or one who has not accepted grihastha ashram must rigidly avoid talking with women or about women, for the senses are so powerful that they may agitate even the mind of a sannyasi, a member of the renowned order of life. And this is actually many millions of years ago. This was mentioned, this particular pastime, when Narada Muni explains this section. So, yes, we are living in the age of Kali, with age of degradation, and what men means for women, women means for men. So what it means is that eventually Krishna consciousness needs to facilitate a rapid advancement to the degree that we are able to go beyond these just physical appreciation of each other, but rather looking at the dyadic concept or concept of relationship as a is a journey of two people, of two devotees, which appreciate, understand the psychophysical nature they've been given, like being a body of a woman or being a body of a man, understand what it means, and jointly, or in other words, together, utilize what was given to them and practice Krishna consciousness. Men can bring something to family life, women can bring something to family life, and in this way you can just progress together in a very harmonious ways. And the more and more we sort of fight against this nature, this swadharma, you can see what's happening in a modern society. There's so much confusion. Men reject to be men, women reject to be a woman, and it just gives a lot of difficulties. And this is very powerful verse. Woman is compared to fire and man is compared to a butter pot. Therefore, a man should avoid associating even with his own daughter in a secluded place. Similarly, he should also avoid association with other women. One should associate with women only for important business and not otherwise. So we can see that in this modern day and age, these standards are very much watered down. In the text number 9, Narada Muni directly sort of presents that the association should be very much restricted. This is not because men think that they're better than women or women are less than men or this and that. But what it means is that we understand that woman is compared to a fire and man is compared to a butter. So what happens when butter comes close to fire, it starts melting. So if in the center of your life is spiritual advancement, then you still are able to recognize that my material body and my material mind has certain limitations. The limitations are is that I can just easily get agitated. And and by understanding these limitations that we have in our life, just just use it to your advantage. Yes, you may have certain limitations, your unrestricted mind. So just make precautions. I was just walking once in Vrindavan. I was on a parikrama. I was on Govardhan parikrama. And in a far distance, there was a approaching lady, local Govardhan Basi. And the moment she saw me from a distance, she fully covered her veil over her face. And I was, in my orange saffron robes, just chanting away. And I thought to myself, this is really nice. Not because, but, but because Vedic civilization is based on blessings. So blessings and exchanges of blessings. And the Vedic philosophy is very, very subtle, very subtle. And what Narada Muni is presenting here is these subtle nuances of exchanges between man and woman. So if woman is able to present the chastity, then man is not agitated, and vice versa. And in this way, you put Krishna in a center by understanding each other's sort of limitations. So this is a perfect society. This is perfectly presented by Narada Muni. Doesn't mean that in this point of life in the West it is applicable or it is possible. But Bhagavatam just presents things as they are in the truest sort of unfiltered form. As long as a living entity is not completely self-realized, as long as he is not independent of the misconception of identifying with his body, which is nothing but a reflection of his original body essences, he cannot be relieved of the conception of duality, which is epitomized by the duality between man and woman. Thus, there is every chance that he will fall down because his intelligence is bewildered. You see, also, Narada Muni is a renunciate, right? Historically, we know he was making renunciates. So his sort of a approach is also really straightforward. Now this is the verse text 13, 14. According to the rules and regulations mentioned above, one who is twice born, namely a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, should reside in a Gurukul under the care of the spiritual master. There he should study and learn the Vedic literatures along with their supplements of the Upanishads according to his ability and power to study. If possible, the student or disciple should reward the spiritual master with the remuneration the spiritual master requests, and then, following the master's order, the disciple should leave and accept one of the other ashramas, namely the Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyas ashram, as he desires. So Dakshina, this remuneration, this dakshina, is it's a Vedic concept. You see, when you put into debt by someone, debt, such a high debt that you're not able to repay the debt, this sort of a dakshin is not of a physical nature because how you can repay the blessings that you receive from Srila Prabhupada or from your spiritual master or from anyone who took you under their shelter and give you tutelage and spiritual guidance. How can you repay someone? Um, the fact that you are able to make progress in your spiritual life is not possible. Therefore, this dakshina, it's it's like, how can it ever be fully covered? So, but the way that you can cover the investment that the devotees did or invested in you is that you just try to be a pure devotee, or you try to be the best version of yourself. You try to be the most practical, and you can become like just good devotee or a Vaishnava. So it's not that this dakshin is a one-off thing, that this remuneration is just one activity or delivering some, I don't know, gold or some special type of paraphernalia is based on the desires of the spiritual master, but rather then from that day onwards, the whole life becomes an offering. It becomes a remuneration. So, and with this depth constantly in our consciousness, the depth that our spiritual authorities put us under should positively mold and force us to practice Krishna consciousness. By practicing in this way, whether one be in brahmacharya ashram, grihastha ashram, vanaprastha ashram, sannyasa ashram, one must always realize the all-pervading presence of the Supreme Lord. For in this way, it is possible to understand the absolute truth. So it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you're brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi. It doesn't matter what is your practical situation, your practical engagement. The nature is just think of Krishna, always remember him, chant Krishna's names, associate with devotees, chant Hare Krishna, read spiritual books. And I can see it now here in Liverpool. We've been here for almost a year now. And you can see that how this spiritual association makes such a tremendous difference in people's lives. The amount of advancement people are making. People are now chanting 16 rounds. People which we met a couple of months ago on the streets, we met them, distribute books, invite them for a program, and somehow or another Krishna does his magic and the holy name really it penetrate to the heart. And you can see how Westerners, people, new people, they're making advancements. Every Saturdays now we have 70, 80 people coming for our programs. We really cook crazy good prasadam, like 10 preparations is a standard. And it really works, You create an environment where people feel enthused to make advancement. So now we entering Narada Muni is presenting the Vanaprastha ashram. O king, I shall now describe the qualifications for Vanaprastha. This is text 17. One who has retired from family life by rigidly following the rules and regulations for the Vanaprastha, one can easily be elevated to the upper planetary system known as Mahaloka. A person in Vanaprastha life should not eat grains grown by tilling of the fields. He should also not eat grains that have grown without tilling of the field but are not fully ripe. Nor should Vanaprastha eat grains cooked in fire. My goodness. Indeed, he should eat only fruit ripened by the sunshine. That's very interesting. The Vanaprastha should prepare cakes to be offered in sacrifice from fruits and grains grown naturally in the forest. When he obtains some new grains, he should give up his old stock of grains. A Vanaprastha should prepare a thatched cottage or take shelter of a cave in a mountain only to keep the sacred fire, but he should personally practice enduring snowfall, wind, fire, rain, and shining of the sun. So, Hare Krishna, anyone above 50? Anyone above 50 years of age? This is for you. So, who is able to follow that in this day and age? No grains, living in a forest, and but we can take the essence of it. We can take the underlying message, and the underlying message is simplicity and renunciation. Simplicity, renunciation, whatever was casual, automatic, whatever we took for granted in our working life, we should slowly learn to give it up. We should slowly learn to detach, not entangle ourselves more and more. We're not requesting you in the Hare Krishna movement or in ISKCON to have a thatched cottage or take shelter in a cave or a mountain. But rather, what we're requesting is maybe downscale, have a simple life, and try to focus more on preparing yourself for death. And that is reality of Vanaprastha Ashram. Vanaprastha Ashram means I did my part for the society. I worked. I did my taxes. I gave I gave my life to children, to family, to society. I was active. I was doing my duties as a husband, as a wife. I was doing my duties as a mother, father, son, this and that. Now is the time to focus on me. Now is the time to focus on my spiritual advancement. Otherwise, we again become more and more entangled in the spiritual life. Being very thoughtful, a Vanaprastha should remain in the forest for 12 years, 8 years, 4 years, 2 years, or at least 1 year. He should behave in such a way that he will not be disturbed or troubled by too much austerity. So again, not too much austerity, but simplicity, simplifying life to bare minimum. When, because of disease or old age, one is unable to perform his prescribed duties for advancement in spiritual consciousness or study the Vedas, he should practice fasting, not taking any food. He should properly place the fire element in his own self, and in this way give up bodily affinity, by which one thinks the body to be one's self or one's own. One should gradually merge in the material body into the 5 elements. So what Prabhupada is sort of practically requesting of Vanaprasthas is that just go to Vrindavan, go to Mayapur, make yourself comfortable, simplify your life, and just chant Hare Krishna, go for classes, do some nice service, and finish your life with dignity. Finish your life with have a respectful end of your life by performing simple, nice, dedicated activities and just leave your body and perfect your life. So that's the goal of Krishna consciousness. That's what Narada Muni is presented here. Naturally, it's not easy, it's not possible to live in a cave in this day and age. I don't even think that's legal, right? Is it legal? I don't know. So now Narada Muni is sort of presenting quite a technical section. It's from the verses 26 to 30 is giving very technical sort of a description of how should one leave the body. The mind, along with all material desires, should be merged in the moon demigod. All the subject matters of intelligence, along with the intelligence itself, should be placed in Lord Brahma. False ego, which is under the influence of material modes of nature, and which induce one to think. Sorry if you hear any loud noise. The boys just came back from the kirtan program, so they're a bit rowdy. So sorry for that. But these type of a technicalities we are not able to perform. But what we are able to perform is just chanting Hare Krishna, reading Bhagavatam, and rather than merging the mind and the desires into the moon demigod, you can offer your mind and your desires to Krishna. You can approach Krishna saying, Krishna, these are my limitations of my mind, and this is what's going to happen to me if you're not going to enter into my life and sort of vanquish these limitations. And then in the last verse, text 31, when all the material designations have thus merged into their respective material elements, the living beings who are all ultimately completely spiritual, being one in quality with the Supreme Being, should cease form, material existence, as flame cease when the wood in which they are burning is consumed. When the material body is returned to its various material elements, only the spiritual being remains. The spiritual being is Brahman and is equal in quality with Parabrahman. So one way that you can merge everything, including your material body and material mind, with Krishna, is just just embracing. Like recently, what I started doing for the last couple of months is I constantly listen to Krishna book. I just go on the Vanupedia and there's this beautiful narration and just listen Krishna books all the way. Whenever I have some time, just put in some earphones. When I go to bed, listening to Krishna book is very sweet. And in this way, you meditating. In this way, you're offering the fire of the mind into the conglomerate of fire of Krishna consciousness. So we are not able to follow these very rigorous and difficult and challenging instructions of Narada Muni, but we can take the essence of them. The essence is simplicity, dedication, and offering of sacrifice. And the sacrifice is, in this day and age, actually to be Krishna conscious. The sacrifice is not to pour ghee in the fire and to throw grains in the fire, but the real sacrifice is, and sacrifice means that you feel a pinch. Sacrifice means that there's an element of this is tough, this is challenging, this is difficult. The sacrifice means that we just try to mold and create our life situations that somewhere or another we're just able to think of Krishna. This is real sacrifice. This is so difficult. The mind is so obstinate and just wants to do different things. But to be able to bring the mind back to Krishna, that's the real sacrifice. So yeah, I think it's 8:35. I can go on, but if there are any questions, any points, any reflections, comments, corrections, please feel free to discuss now.
Okay, thank you very much, Antaranga Prabhu. So Devi Mataji, you've got your hand up, so would you like to ask your question?
Hare
And if
Krishna, thank you very much for today. Do you hear me?
yes, we do,
Yes,
Mataji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
In my understanding, every in the Shastra, whatever it's giving, the advices and everything, it's in different time, like different yoga was special way of practicing, right?
Correct.
But then when we came to Kali Yoga, then the practice was to chant, to do devotional service, right? And of course, we should read and so on. But the things it says there, for instance, I'm honest now, I'm over more than 50, I'm over 60. And for me, to find the forest, to go out in forest, it's almost impossible. There is no forest for me to be there. And sorry to say that I have 6 adult children. If I tell them that I'm going to travel to another country and live there forever and bye-bye, it would not happen. My son, he will never let this happen. So it's and to just say, I don't care about you. You're not no, you're not adult, and you do what you want. I go. So this makes could create resentment in my children to for me to say, I don't care about you now anymore. You're an adult. I should live my life the way I want. It could, karma, resentment can bring karma to them. And it's almost like I do, what I do create karma for the children. You know what I mean? So even that makes it difficult for me to just leave everything and just go to the forest or to travel to another country and live there and live the rest of my life and not caring about anything, but only to practice my spirituality. You understand what I mean?
Okay, so there are a few points. There are a few points which you mentioned. Thank you for your
Yes.
important points there. So, as I said, no one's going to ask you to go to the forest. It's impractical, and it doesn't make sense. And I don't know, you're in England? In England, it's difficult. It's
No,
rainy. In
I
India,
live I live in
sorry,
Sweden.
in
Sweden.
Sweden. Yeah, it must be so
Yes.
difficult, right? It must be so cold during winter time. You can't survive winter in Sweden. So in India, it's slightly different. And as I said, this narration, this conversation happened many millions of years ago when Narada Muni gave this instruction. But what I said is that this essence we have to sort of take out. When it comes to family connection, you see, we had so many families before. We have so many mothers, fathers, sisters, daughters, sons, grandchildren's, aunties, um, cousins, this and that. For millions and millions of lifetimes, we've been entangled with this within this family life. If I would show you a picture of your family from a previous life, which you had so much affection for them in your previous life, so much love, you would die for them. I will show you all your sons and your daughters. But at this point, you will have no affection for them because that life is gone. So, and that will be same thing with this family now. If in your next life, when you're going to take a birth, you will have another family, another sons, another daughters, another fathers and mothers, and then again and again and again and again and again, and probably hundreds and thousands of times again. So the question is, when the time comes when I will be able to cut off these ties intelligently with this life, with this family. You see, Bhagavatam and Shastras, they're describing that family is like pieces of straw floating down the river. And these pieces of straw, they come together and they create a bond. And then as the current of life is continuing, these straws will go this way, this direction, that direction. So you can do as you wish in terms of your attachment or detachment or practicalities of how do you want to live your life. And that's the beauty of spirituality. That's the beauty of Krishna consciousness, that you can do whatever you desire. Srimad Bhagavatam is non-apologetic. He said, this is reality. You've been here many times before. You have many fathers and mothers. What you're going to do with you, that's upon you. But the beautiful thing about Bhagavatam is that it's causal, which means it shows cause and effect. So if you wish to maintain this type of a consciousness that, oh, I'm still curious about what my family can do, what my family can say, then that's fine. But you will take another birth. And that's given. But if you're able, and I'm not saying that, in my heart, there's a stone that we don't have any emotions and affinity for our family men, but rather on the other side, be also able to have the perspective of Shastra Chakshush, which is the vision through the Shastras. And that is your husbands, your daughters, your son, they will not save you from the onslaught of the material nature. They will not. They're not God. Krishna will, but your family won't. They can do some like Pitri Yagya, like it is said that for son is called Putra. Put is one hellish planet, and Tra means Trayate. So son is someone who liberates his fathers and mothers from the hellish region. But if someone is liberated from the hellish region, doesn't mean he will make it back to Godhead. So as you wish, in the end of the day, if you wish to sort of take guidance or opinion of your sons and daughters, then you'll probably have to stay here a couple of more lifetimes. But if you're able to develop deep sense of trust and faith in Krishna and develop that unshakable relationship with Krishna, then your destination is definitely very auspicious. And I'm not saying that you should let go whimsically, but you should learn to let go eventually. Does that make sense?
Please forgive me. I'm not that advanced to believe in that this is my last life. that's why if I let it go, then I know I'm not coming back, or that I'm not going to back to Godhead. I'm not that advanced. I'm so sorry to say that. But at the same time, it's not that I am attached to them. It's not that I don't want to let it go. It has nothing to do with that, but it has to do with that to deliberately cause a karma because the children going to think something, to resent something that I only I'm honest to say that I have myself I have very big fear about it. I'm sorry to say that all practice I do it because it says in the Shastra, and I want to follow the principle, chanting round and attending classes and do whatever I can to follow the Shastra as it says. But at the same time, I can't say that I do it with love. No, I can't say that. I do it with the respect and fear. And that fear makes me not to cause my children to have the resentment for my spiritual practice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's completely fine. Fear is a natural element of progress. In many other denominations and cultures, fear is an element of advancement. We are afraid of going to hell. We are afraid of this. We are afraid of that. But as you said correctly and nicely, in humility, you sort of open up and shared that there's more to it, right? Fear is just an initial catalyst for spiritual advancement. And then eventually we should go to the element of duty, that I'm not fear bound, but I'm duty bound. And from duty comes love and appreciation of Krishna. So, as I said, spirituality or Krishna consciousness is a movement. It's based on advancement, and it's very important actually having that sort of a contradictive perspective to our perspective, and that's what Bhagavatam offers. It offers element of sort of an unfiltered Shastrika perspective, saying, yes, I may appreciate or I may understand what is my level at this point. Yes, I'm afraid that my children will become resentful. That fear is naturally there. But this is what Bhagavatam says. So we may understand our predicament and our perspective, but then there's Bhagavata, or then there's Shastra, then there is the words of the Acharya, then there are the words of the devotees. So we can understand our level, and we should, because it's healthy. Because if you think that you're more than you are, if you think you're more advanced than you actually are, that can create more difficulty than actually understand that, well, I am in a certain level, and this is where I'm at, what the Shastras recommend me here at this particular situation. So that's good. That's a healthy perspective to have, to be humble in terms of understanding our predicament. But at the same time, we should understand what we're striving for. Say, yes, this is my level, this is my predicament, this is my situation, but this is what Srimad Bhagavatam says. And we should have a plan, or at least some sort of a step-by-step process, and to direct us to fully absorb the conclusions of the Shastra, the conclusions of Srila Prabhupada, the conclusions of Narada Muni. And that is very important. That's a very important element to our Krishna consciousness as a personal practitioners. So, yeah, I do appreciate your perspective, but we should also be able to appreciate the perspective of the Shastra, and that is, this is the reality. And our sons and daughters, in the end, will not save us, but rather our relationship with Krishna will. So that's one perspective. But thank you for sharing.
I'm sorry, I have another thing here.
So Devi Mataji, can I get, sorry, so Devi Mataji, can I hold you there for a second, and then I'll come back to you. We've got Rajesh Prabhu who wants to ask a question, if that's okay, first of all. Rajesh Prabhu, Would you like to
Hare,
ask your question? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, and thank you for the very nice lecture. My question is, maybe I need some further elaboration on the association of women. You mentioned that even a father with his daughter shouldn't associate too much, but I think, so I have a 17-year-old daughter, and I think studies show that a father and daughter's relationship is important, or any child, because if there isn't a solid relationship with a parent, that child will look and search for that security elsewhere. So can you please elaborate for me and give me some guidance on, or elaborate further on what you were saying? Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so thank you for pointing this out. I'm brahmachari, so there are naturally certain elements of perspective that I have in terms of associating with the opposite gender. And you're a father, so naturally your emotions are different, specifically, with your daughter as a daughter-father relationship. So I can't comment on that because I don't have that sort of a practical experience. But what I can say is that Srimad Bhagavatam narrates, as I said, unfiltered reality of the material world. You see, you have a body of a human being. It happened to Brahma. Brahma himself became attracted to his daughter. What was her name? Bhag? No. Oh, Krishna. I can't remember the name of Brahma's daughter. But Brahma himself became attracted to his daughter.
It was Vak. I think it was
Bhag?
Vak.
Yeah.
It sounds familiar, that one.
So what I'm trying to say is that the unbelievably disgusting nature of material life, material mind, and pervertedness of this limiting material body is able to go to such extent and such a degree that father may be even sexually attracted to his daughter. I'm not saying this is your case, and I'm not saying that this is the case that we want to work with at the moment. But as I said before, Srimad Bhagavatam presents the most crudest way of fall downs and prevention from those fall downs. So when he says that a father should be not restricted, cautious, even as cautious associating with his daughter, it means not allowing any provoking situations to enter into one's mind. Or so it functions as a prevention element. Naturally, definitely, daughters more than ever in this day age of Kali, they need strong, healthy, directive, loving, protective fathers. And Shastra also explains that women should always have protection of the father, of the husband, and then the son. So naturally, these psychophysical instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam and Shastras are rightfully presented there. But I think it's up to those Bachar fathers of daughters to find a balance to protect, instruct, navigate, and give healthy background and balance to daughters' lives. But at the same time, being able to fully understand that there is always a chance of some unnecessary fall downs because we are in the material world. So Srimad Bhagavatam is going to the extremes to warn us not to take the influence of Maya and material energy lightly. That's how much I can say. I don't know if that makes sense. Does it make sense, Prabhu?
Yeah, I think I understood what you're saying, and it has helped me. Thank you. I won't elaborate. I think maybe there are other questions. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Prabhu.
thank you very much, Raja Prabhu. Janakanya Mataji, would you like to ask your question, please? Janakanya Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Janakunya Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Nice to
It's
meet you.
just I mean, at the moment we are listening to a lot of katha about Brahma and his daughter, Lord Brahma and his daughter, and yes, in the psychiatry world, I think it is quite alarming when you hear a mother is living with a son, an older son, and vice versa with male and female, father and daughter as well, or father and son. There's often an alarm there when you study the case. So yeah, I think in the material world, but I'm not sure what the relationship with Brahma and his daughter, what messages is being portrayed for us to learn from. There's that, and I also want to compliment you afterwards, if that's okay.
I'm at the moment I'm reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, so I have to admit that I don't have such a in detail as per recently about this particular pastime. But in general, the message is that even the creator of this universe, the most advanced of all the celestial beings, demigods, the head of our sampradaya, is not free from the attacks of the material energy to the degree that this is what happened. We have one head, and in that one head we had one brain with one mind. But here is Brahma with tremendous power. His body is made of pure intelligence. He's unborn son, Aja, of Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Yet this is what happened. So it just puts on a perspective that even such an elevated personality is not spared by the attacks of the illusionary energy to the degree that he felt victim to this element of lusting after his own daughter. So I think the underlying message is to be always careful, always vigilant, and not allowing ourselves to, well, meditate too much on these relationships between man and woman unnecessarily.
Mhm. Thank you very much. Now, I want to just say you've been doing just what the doctor ordered, because you've actually propagated just what our guru would have wanted to do and what he has done, and he has ordered you to do. I think he has ordered you to do the kind of what you've created a community, Krishna conscious community in Liverpool. That is a big, huge job, and I'm really proud of you as a God sister, and also our guru would be proud of you, and Prabhupada would be just so proud to know, and he's still they are proud, not would be. Yeah. Hare Krishna. It's not an easy thing to do, and you've done it. That's wonderful. From book distribution has brought you to that stage is so wonderful. Congratulations.
That's very kind of you to say. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So Devi Mataji, can we come back to you now, please? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. In my have I understood wrong that Srila Prabhupada have said that when when Lord Chaitanya came and said that we should chant and devotional service and so on. So the Shastra, yes, we have to read it. Yes, we have to learn about it, something from it. But whatever it is, somewhat is pastime, somewhat is learning tools and so on. But the very, very, very important things is to chant 16 rounds, to do the devotional service, to follow the principle, and to have association with the devotees. Have I understood wrong?
No, that's perfectly fine. That's a perfect understanding, yeah.
Okay, thank
That's absolutely perfect understanding. The essence, you see, Prabhupada said that I'm writing all these books to induce you to chant more. So all these books from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion, Bhagavad Gita, all of these varieties of books are basically there to infuse us to chant sincerely. But when you look at the offenses against the holy name, many of the offenses against the holy name have nothing to do with the holy name. That's the funny part. What they have to do with is understanding magnanimity of a devotee, understanding the value of scriptures, understanding the perspective and difference between who are demigods, who's the Supreme Lord, understanding the practices and behavior of humility and who is a devotee. So what it means if we want to chant, which is the essence, there's a lot of supporting angas or elements which support that element of dedicated, pure chanting. And one of them is just how we interact with devotees. And that comes only by understanding the magnanimity of the devotees. And that can only come by serving them and also studying about who is a devotee. These sections of Srimad Bhagavatam, which narrate the beautiful pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj, are the most famous pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya loved the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. So it all comes together. So it all sort of builds us up as a practicing devotees. The element of chanting, the element of association, service attitude, studying scriptures, element of renunciation, and all these different secondary and tertiary practices are there to make us more devotees than we are than we've been. So it all plays its very pivotal and fundamental role to become in deeper relationship with the holy name. So yeah, one cannot exist without another.